Oh, there I
Hello,
am.
Ray. Welcome.
Hello, Justice. It is so good to see you again.
You too. How was Canada?
Um,
Montreal, right?
yes, we were in Montreal. We flew in Friday. Got there Friday early afternoon. We were there for the Montreal Jazz Festival, which runs started I think on the 29th and runs through July 9th, I believe. Just an incredible atmosphere, an incredible festival. There are hundreds of concerts, most of which are free. And
Right.
then there are any number of artists that are at venues where you do have to pay to get in, and it's just it is the closest thing to being in Europe while still being in North America.
Is jazz bigger in Europe than in North
Um,
America?
well, I think jazz is pretty big in Europe, and it's but it's just I mean the city itself. It is so
Oh, okay.
cosmopolitan. It is um, you go there and French is the predominant language in Montreal.
Mhm.
There are universities there. I think Concordia University is one of them. That school, it's entirely in French. McGill University, where Dara went, my daughter, that's French and English. But there's just something. Zach and Laura said it best. It's the best city ever for people watching, and after 3 days we still hadn't seen an ugly person. So it's kind of remarkable. It's the languages you hear, the culture, just everything about it. So if anybody's ever thought about going to Montreal, I would recommend doing it. It whether you go there for the jazz festival or some other reason, just don't do it in the winter.
I was gonna say, what was the temperature like?
Yeah. Oh, well, it was in the 80s
Oh, okay.
and thunderstormy. And Saturday night when we walked to the concert, we needed umbrellas, but Sunday was perfect. You know, it
Nice.
was cool. Yeah.
Nice. I love to people watch. Maybe I'll have to
Oh
go up
my
there. I
goodness.
haven't been up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It's
I
beautiful
usually
city for that.
I usually people watch down in Santa Monica, and I bet it's a slightly different type of people you're watching in
Uh, it
Montreal.
it is. I'm just telling you, the food is good. The variety of food, the so many different cultures. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
welcome back. We
it's good
missed
to
you.
be home. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was a fun show on Friday without you, but we still missed you. So glad to have you here. Glad to be back after the holiday weekend as well.
yes.
Um, I saw you and Zach were on yesterday. I didn't know you guys were going to be on.
We were on yesterday, and as you know, we were just on again
Yeah.
today. Um, holiday or not, it didn't matter. We weren't on Monday, so we needed to be on yesterday. Yeah. Can't
Fair
you
enough.
can't take too much time away.
No. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yes.
So today we are
Yeah.
talking about what are we talking about? We're talking
Uh,
about the top 10, our very first top 10 list.
I can't
Look
wait.
at that.
Yeah.
The top 10 cheapest EVs with a
Yes.
300-mile or more range.
Okay. So the cutoff is 300-mile
Yeah.
range. If it's less than a 300-mile range, we don't give a damn how cheap it is. It's
Well,
it's
it's not making our list at least.
okay. So
Uh,
so just if that would be the case, then the Ionic 5 that like Justin drives wouldn't make the list because the range is under 300 miles.
yeah, he drives the top trim, so correct. That would not.
Yes. Fool. What a
Nor
fool.
nor would my standard range Model 3
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
because it also does not top 300 miles.
We took an Uber Sunday night, and it was a Tesla of some kind.
Of
And
some kind, okay?
I don't know which one it was. I,
That's fair.
I don't know. It was a Tesla. I knew it was a Tesla. And I got to sit in the front seat and converse with the driver. I asked him about regenerative braking, and one pedal driving, which is all he does, and he loves it. And you have because you have a Tesla, you have that giant iPad or whatever the hell it is, just to the right of the steering wheel. So he had that thing going, and then he had like two other phones in there, and he pulled up a video for me about a $142 million Mercedes Benz race car that had been sold in 1955, I think it was, SLR. And I said, really, you need to pull up another video. He said, what's that? I said, go back to YouTube and type in CarEdge. and he did, and I said, you recognize anybody? And he started watching one of the videos as we were driving. I thought that was kind of
while you were driving.
Yeah, well, I could, because it was on his phone, not on the big screen.
Yeah. I know it can't be on the Tesla screen because here's the thing, right? When you're driving, you're not supposed to be watching YouTube videos.
But I was the passenger. I was,
yeah, you could watch them. Yeah, but was he watching them?
Only a little.
Oh, okay. Seems like that may have been a good time for autopilot.
Yeah, only with his right eye. See, it's in a case like that where you would want, say, Marty Feldman as your driver. So you could have the right eye on the phone, and the left eye can still be on the road.
I was going to say, or Peter Falk, but I guess that wouldn't work at all. That would be the worst.
Yeah, you already have one eye. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into it, shall we?
Okay.
What do you think the number 10 spot is?
For this is the cheapest?
Yeah, so we are going in order of the cheapest. We'll have some other stats on the screen to show, but we're going by cheapest.
So what do I think is the 10th most expensive of the cheapest? Is that what that would be?
Yes, I guess the most expensive of the cheapest.
I like that.
So I'll tell you, Mercedes is not on this list.
Okay. Would you want to be the worst of the best or the best of the worst? Do you want to be the cheapest of the cheap or the least expensive? Or the most expensive of the cheap? So I'm going to say it would be a Wrangler 4xe.
No, and I think that there's a mileage cap for that.
Okay,
it is the Mustang Mach-E.
Okay,
the premium.
Yeah, I know a dealership near me that's got plenty of them.
Yeah, me too. We went to the one here in Sacramento and the Auto Mall. They had two entire rows of Mach-E's.
Wow,
so that tells you they're piling up. So the Ford Mach-E Premium has a 306-mile range.
Okay,
it charges at 150 kilowatt hour max charging speed.
Is that good or bad?
It's okay. It's fine.
Okay, medium.
There's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, it's still considered fast charging. But
gotcha.
Is it the fastest? No, it's not.
No.
But
okay,
but there's nothing wrong with 150 kilowatt, and 290 horsepower, and that comes in at $53,995. But I bet you can get a good discount if you're walking to a dealer that just has these lined up. But do not, as we had one member do over the weekend, unfortunately, go in there and tell them you will pay invoice plus 5%. Because the invoice on a Mach-E is the same as the MSRP.
Yeah, so
please
you're paying 5% over that.
Yeah. So please don't do that.
Yeah, they're jumping for joy at the dealership. They're going, "Oh my gosh!"
Well, and in fairness, he did come to us and said, "Hey, look, they're telling me that the invoice is the same as the MSRP." It was like, yes, on a Mach-E, that is actually correct.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the dealer.
Yes,
and
it is. For everybody involved in it, except for maybe Ford.
Well, it's
It is not
unfortunate
great.
for them because they're losing what, about $60,000 per vehicle for every EV sold.
Yeah,
They're
but
doing much better than Lucid, but
yeah, um, yeah. I'm going to say yeah. We all agree, Igor.
yes.
We don't like to use that name. Though I have no problems with the Mach-E. If you watch the show on Friday, Ray, which I don't expect since you were up at the Jazz Festival, but we did have my sister on,
Oh,
who
okay.
had done a week's worth of road tripping and everything with me, and had looked at all the EVs we could get our hands on, and this was her third favorite EV
Wow.
outside of Tesla. We didn't even count Tesla,
Gotcha.
but
And I know we hate to call it a Mustang, but I mean, just looking at that picture, they've got that little pony right on the front of the non-existent grill.
so
Um,
the California Route 1 version has 31 Mustangs hidden around the vehicle.
oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, they're trying to really force you to call this thing a Mustang, which again, I like the Mach-E and I love Mustangs, but this is not a Mustang.
I hear you.
All
I
right.
hear you.
So moving on to number 9, we have
Uh,
the
that would
Chevy
be a
Blaze,
wow.
believe it or not. Yep. The
I didn't
RS.
even may I admit that I didn't even know Chevy made the Blazer in an EV format.
Yeah. I
Jeez.
was somewhat surprised when I learned that. I did learn it before today,
Okay.
but I didn't. Someone had brought it to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I kind of forgot that they made that. But the RS gets a very decent 320-mile range.
Yes.
So, and then 190 kilowatt hour max charging speed.
So
So a little
that's
bit
even
faster.
better than that Mach-E.
Yep. And now they're claiming a 557 horsepower,
That
which
feels like a lot of horses.
I I have some issues with it. Like that's higher than everyone on the list by a
Wow.
lot. I will tell you that.
Wow.
So you know, it seems like I have not driven it, but all the specs on paper look really nice for it. I will have to search it out and get into one and drive and let everyone know what I think.
Well,
Um,
and it's 2 grand cheaper than that
yep.
Mach-E.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. 51,995. So since
Wow.
this is a countdown, they
Yeah.
will all be cheaper than the previous.
I'm slow, but I was thinking as I was saying it, well, of course it's less because we started with the most expensive of the cheapest, and we're working our way down to the cheapest of the cheapest.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So from here we go to the Polestar.
Wow.
We all like the Polestar. The Polestar 2 long range rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
Words are hard. It gets 320-mile range, 205 kilowatt max charge speed, which is a really weird number, but and 299 horsepower. I have ridden in Mario's Polestar 2. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Loved it. It was a great car. Uh, really, really nice. I have nothing bad to say about that vehicle at all. So, and at 51.3, it is definitely a good choice. I think Polestar is one of those sleepers that's just going to be around forever.
Does that qualify for any of the government incentives?
So I don't think it qualifies there, but they are passing on the 7,500 on a lease deal.
Gotcha.
So if you want to lease a Polestar, that's definitely the way to go because you can get the 7,500 pass through. Plus, I think you can get some discounts there.
Wow. Very cool.
Then from the Polestar, we go to the Model Y, the Tesla Model Y long range,
Okay.
which is 330 miles, 210 kilowatt hour max charging speed, and 384 horsepower.
I wonder if that's what I was in on the other day. I don't know for sure.
Now, I was going to ask you how tall it was
It
because
seemed relatively tall.
so it's probably the Y then.
Okay.
Just the one screen. You said the iPad screen, so yeah, though just the one screen.
Yeah, I mean it was Am I allowed to say it was a BAS, a big ass screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's nothing, no instrument panel in front of the steering wheel.
You know, I think there was. I didn't really look. I was more impressed with the fact that he never touched the brake.
Okay, and then the other question is, when Zach got into the back, did the doors open normally or were they gull wing doors?
It opened normally.
Okay, so that's a Model Y.
Okay.
Then you got that. If it was relatively tall and the doors open, then this was it. This was the
Yes.
Model Y.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
330-mile range, 210 kilowatt hour max charging speed, and 50,490 before tax incentives. And all Teslas qualify for the full 7,500 tax credit now.
Okay, so if you could utilize the full $7,500 tax credit, that means that basically it's a $43,000 net car for somebody that could utilize the entire tax credit.
Correct.
Okay.
And then at the end of each quarter, if you look at existing inventory, you can usually get another $3,000 to $4,000 off.
Really?
Because that's how Tesla sort of ramps up production throughout a quarter, and then at the end of the quarter to hit sales goals and numbers, they always discount the existing inventory. So
And
always a good time.
I did see that they far surpassed what Wall Street's projected number for worldwide sales were for the quarter.
Yes, we expect the final quarter numbers to come in pretty high, and then the summers we expect to pick up even more.
The numbers I saw, I think earlier today, was like 466,000 Tesla deliveries worldwide in the second quarter.
I think that's the number I read too.
Yeah, and it was 18,000 more than what Wall Street had projected.
Yeah,
no, that's like close to 2 million Teslas that they expect to sell in a year. That's a lot.
Yep, that is a lot. That is a lot, and they're not even at max capacity production yet. They're still retooling and getting there. So we'll see.
Wow.
And then so from the Model Y, we go to number 6, which is the
Kia EV6. Okay.
Yeah. Number 6 comes in at the EV6, the Wind rear-wheel drive, which has a 310-mile range.
Gotcha.
But a very impressive 240 max kilowatt hour charging speed and 225 horsepower.
What is the maximum charging speed that you get in cars today?
Currently, the max would be 350, except for like the semi.
Gotcha.
But in passenger vehicles, yes, 350 kilowatt. But almost nobody has that.
So how does like when we started, it was 150 kilowatt hours in the Mach-E. Mm-hmm. And this is this is 90 kilowatt hours more. Yeah. What does that mean? What does that translate to in time to get from, say, 20% charge to 80% charge?
So I don't have the stats on the figures because there's a charging curve involved in that as well.
Gotcha.
But it will, obviously, the higher the max kilowatt hour charging speed, the less time it would take, the faster it does. Of course, you have to find a supercharger that will do that.
Gotcha.
So there's, some of the older Tesla version 1 and 2s just wouldn't even go to that, even if you could.
Yeah.
Electrify America split. You have to sort of search for that charger that'll do that. But Kia and Hyundai have some of the fastest charging speeds, and their curves are great. They've done a wonderful job at the efficiency of charging on their vehicles.
Can I share something with you that I saw in Montreal? As we were walking down one of the streets, there were 2 spots, and this is an older city, so there were 2 spots against the curb for electric charging. They had one of them had a Panamera attached to it, and And I said to the guy our Uber driver, I said, "Are there a lot of charging stations around here?" He said, "My God," he said, "there's 6 or 7 just on a kilometer radius of where we're driving." And, we were on St. Catherine Street, which is the big shopping and dining street. And I was just amazed at on so many different streets where I would just see these chargers, in the middle
Yeah.
of a street.
Yeah. I mean, and you get that a little bit here, but we're still not there, in the United States everywhere. But
Yeah.
certainly when you get into the bigger cities like that, you'll see more of that. Um, and that's what we talk about all the time. I 100% look for where I'm going places. Oh, do they have a level 2 charger I can just go and plug in? Great. I'll go over there and
Mhm.
I'll just charge up there. So fourth district says the EV6 charges in 20 minutes with a Mach-E would be 35 minutes.
Gotcha. Wow,
So
that's a big
significant.
difference.
And Bob says, if EVs are unsafe to garage, would you be installing them outside? Nobody said EVs are unsafe to garage. As a matter
Yeah,
of fact, they're the lowest fire risk of any type of vehicle.
absolutely they are. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna sneeze. Or maybe not.
no,
Okay.
it's because you said it.
Yes, of
That's
course.
always the key. That's always the key. So from 6, we go to our midpoint, which is the greatest vehicle of all time. This would be the Tesla Model 3 long range.
Yes,
Well,
the
when you
greatest.
create the slides, you can say anything you want.
You can yeah,
So
that's the beauty of what you do.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yes.
If you're the producer, you can do whatever. So this
Yeah,
is the long range version. So I have the standard range. The long range
gotcha.
is 330 miles, 250 kilowatt max charging speed with 425 horsepower.
It seems like a lot of
So
horsepower.
this is a beast. I mean,
Yeah,
the Model 3 really is a beast, and it is the most efficient EV made,
okay.
just overall. So you get the
And
longest
and
range on the smallest battery, et cetera, et cetera.
and that qualifies for the full $7,500 US.
Yes.
So
All
in
Teslas,
okay, so
all
in
trims.
essence, if you could use the entire credit, this would net out under $40,000.
Correct. If you can use the entire credit.
Wow.
And don't lease a Tesla. You can get
Why?
the 7,500 up, but remember, Tesla lease is a rental.
Yes, because they won't allow
Yeah.
you to buy it at the end.
No.
Yeah.
So no
Yeah.
trade equity, no buying at the end. It's a long-term rental is what you're getting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, if that works for your situation, you can deduct it on your business taxes, whatever. Great, but overall, it is the one that disappoints me the most because otherwise, I would be like, yeah, you should lease a Tesla. But in this
Wow.
case, you should finance a Tesla, and you should finance outside of Tesla because their rates aren't the best either. But it's an amazing car.
Wow. And it's not even number one, but it is the
Nope.
GOAT.
It is the GOAT
Yeah.
because remember, this list is by price.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it is by price. If we were going by greatest EV, clearly this would be number one.
Oh, absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
get it, especially when you're the producer. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
So there you go, Bob. Now you're right. The issue is the complexity of putting
Yeah.
out the fire. While it is not very likely to catch on fire, 25 per 100,000 sold. So the least amount, if it does catch fire, yep, that
Yeah.
is 100% a
Yeah.
real issue. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
agreed completely. Fire departments, people need to start carrying basically foam and not water because putting us out with water takes many thousands of gallons of water to put
Wow.
out. So here we go to number 4, which is the Nissan
Uh-huh.
Aria.
Yes.
So the Venture Plus gets 304-mile range,
Okay.
130 max kilowatt hour charging speed, 238 horsepower, but it comes in at 47,190. So it's a little bit cheaper.
Yes, and you know what's it. Don't take this wrong when I say it, but it looks suspiciously similar to the Blazer.
It does. It does. I will say that this is here for the price. However, yeah, it doesn't qualify for the full 7,500 like the Model Y does.
Okay,
I don't know why you would not get the Model Y
gotcha.
um, instead of this. However, giving it its due, it does belong on the list. So here it is. If you don't like Tesla for
Yeah,
whatever reason, the Nissan Ariya is a decent vehicle. It does not. It's not the fastest charging. Clearly.
yes, I can see that. That's even a slower charging than the Mach E.
Yes, I think
Okay,
this is the slowest charging on the entire list.
gotcha.
But good daily driver around town and stuff, and you need, carrying the kids and the groceries and doing all that. It's not a bad choice.
Absolutely.
Moving to number 3, we have the Hyundai Ioniq 5 SE.
Yes.
So, as I clarified in the beginning with your question, because of his trim,
Yes.
it does not fit, and he has all-wheel drive. This is the SE rear-wheel drive. It's 303-mile range,
Okay.
175 kilowatt-hour max charging speed with 225 horsepower. Again, they don't qualify for the 7,500, but they will give you that back on a lease, or I think they are still offering the 3,500 in just loyalty cash or
Gotcha.
customer cash if you're
Gotcha.
financing.
But if you lease it, you could if they would agree to sell it for MSRP. So if you were to lease it, then your net would end up being the cap cost would end up being 38,000 plus the acquisition fee.
Yeah. Yes.
Look at that. I can occasionally still do math.
And you can get the Ioniq 5 slightly under MSRP in the Northeast still.
Okay.
So in the Northeast. Out here in California, probably not.
Gotcha.
But the one you cannot get under MSRP anywhere in the country is the Ioniq 6.
Wow.
Which comes in at number 2 at the SE long range, has 361-mile range, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And a 350 kilowatt hour max charging speed.
So that would be the fastest charging
Yes.
EV on this list, I'm assuming.
Yes, it's just flat out the fastest charging EV non-commercial.
Wow, very cool.
So it is a great car. Really like the Ioniq 6 a lot. Great range, 361-mile range is really great, and at that charging speed, you can really get it charged up really quickly and get on your trip. It's comfortable inside. It's really nice. So I think, which is partially why you can't get it below MSRP right now. Inventory is very hard. It's hard to get your hands on.
Was this on your sister's list?
So we did not get to sit in the Ioniq 6 when she was out. Her number one favorite was the Kia EV6.
Okay.
Which was somewhat ironic because she went in when we're going around and I'm like, okay, you got to look at the EV6. She's like, it's a Kia. I would never buy a Kia in my entire life. There's no way I'd ever buy a Kia. And I said, great, come look at this. And that ended up being her favorite EV.
Wow.
Because we talk about the same things that you and I talk about all the time. Hyundai, Kia have issues with their ICE vehicles.
Yes.
But it's the ICE engine that is the issue.
Yes.
The rest of the vehicles built pretty well, and their EVs are built very well, and they do a really good job with them. So even I, who would be like, I don't know about buying a Hyundai or Kia, unless that's your, you absolutely love those. I still really like their EVs. Yes, as Igor says, Ioniq 6 sells at MSRP or above. Agreed. You're not above. I agree with you, Igor. Don't pay above. But you're not going to get a discount on this vehicle. anywhere in the
It
country
just
right
came
now.
out, didn't it?
Yeah, it just came out.
Yes.
It's super hot. It's got great stats.
Kind of like me.
So
It's super hot, kind of like me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what temperature it is there right now, Ray, but and then are you ready for number one?
Yeah, because I'll never guess.
No, you're not. You're not ready for number one.
Okay.
So keeping in mind that these are based on price,
Yes,
so we're
yes,
going by price.
yes.
So the number one is the Chevy Equinox,
Ah,
a 2LT, which has a 300-mile range, so barely squeaks out on the list,
just made it.
but it does. 150 kilowatt max charge speed, 210 horsepower, but it is $34,000.
And I'm just guessing that's going to qualify for the $7,500.
I do believe it qualifies for the whole thing. It at least qualifies for half, but I do believe it qualifies for the whole 7,500. Yeah.
So if it did, that would take it down to what, 26.5?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty inexpensive net
Yeah.
for an EV.
And the Bolt versus the Equinox, I think the Equinox is a little bit better. It charges faster, has a little bit farther range, and is right in that same price range. Bolt's a little bit cheaper, but I think you just get a little bit better car with the Equinox than you do with the Bolt.
Isn't the Equinox a bigger vehicle? It looks like.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
Equinox is it's a full SUV.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty incredible. That now, Lee, here's the real question: are they making any at that price point?
Well, look, I'm not guaranteed that you can get any of these vehicles
Yeah.
at the price points. We're just saying what the starting MSRP on these vehicles
Gotcha.
are. The only
Yeah.
ones I can guarantee you are the Model 3 and the
Yes.
Model Y.
Yes.
So those we can guarantee you. The rest of them, those are the starting MSRPs. Certainly, dealers are still dealers, and we have a whole company based on how crappy they are.
Yes. Yes.
So, but the Ioniq 5 you can get under MSRP in the Northeast. The EV6 out here in California, you get actually about $2,000 off. And the Mach-E, you better be getting a discount on because those are piling up. And I think this part of this is starting to be that announcement from Ford and GM on the switching over to the Tesla plug. And I am sure there's people who are like, okay, well, I'll just wait until I can access the Tesla network. No problem.
Yeah.
So, and I wondered about that announcement ahead of time, how that would play out.
Well,
it's just a guess, but
it's a problem at the dealerships.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember is that the manufacturers never really liked to talk in great detail about what pricing was going to be on new models before they came out. For instance, Zach asked me when we were up in Montreal, he said, do the manufacturers tell you a couple days before the beginning of the month what the new incentives are going to be for that new month? And I said, absolutely not. They don't want you to know because they're convinced that if you know, you're not going to sell the cars until those new incentives go in. And and they don't want to tell you about the new cars coming out because they're convinced you're not going to sell the old cars. Well, if you're a car dealership and you're a car salesperson, the only way you get paid is by selling cars, not by waiting to sell cars. There's no pay plans that are set up that say, hey, we're going to pay you $500 to wait a little longer to sell a car. So
yeah,
the manufacturers are so silly because, well, we can't share that information with you. No, we're not going to. We're going to sell the crap that's here. It doesn't matter. That's the only way we get paid. But
exactly. And then Michael here says, I'd buy the cheap one and use an adapter. Tesla doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you cannot have unless it's one of the open networks, which there's like 20 in the US total. To be able to charge it a Tesla, you would have to have your, say, Ford was the Blue app Blue Oval app to be able to connect to the Tesla network to use them. So an
Yeah,
adapter won't do any good for you
gotcha.
as far as access to the Tesla network goes. Next year, they will have access to the Tesla network with an adapter. The year after that, you won't need the adapter. But currently, even with an adapter, you can't access the Tesla network. So
Wow. Now
that's the difference there.
here's a question for you. Um, to compensate for the fact that you can't use the Tesla network right now, do you think like manufacturers like Ford or General Motors would include multiple years worth of free charging?
You would think so, but nobody's announced those programs. Well, I
Wow.
mean, Hyundai did for a long time. Like I know Justin got a few years of free
Yeah.
supercharging at Electrify America, but they have to be partnerships.
Gotcha.
So I don't think anyone's announced like that I've heard of yet. Certainly not on Ford. I haven't heard anything of that yet. But I would expect to get through this hump. They almost need to start doing that.
Yeah, you would think because you've got to
Yeah.
come up with reasons. You have to give customers reasons to be inconvenienced, and those reasons typically have a cost associated with them, such as, hey, for the first 3 years, it's not going to cost you a dime to charge your vehicle if you charge it at X.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise your dealer is just going to be sitting on those cars for a very, very long period of time.
Well, and you would need to, and I think this is part of what we talk all the time when we talk about infrastructure and where it needs to go is, say Ford made that deal and
Yeah,
they said, okay, any Electrify America, you have, free charging. Well, in some parts of the country, that could mean absolutely nothing to you because you don't have any Electrify Americas
sure.
near you. You have
Yeah,
charging points, or if they made it with charging point, vice versa. Electrify America being the second largest next to Tesla, but Tesla being larger than everyone else combined.
gotcha.
So there is that thing when you make those contracts, it's going to be good in some areas and completely worthless in other areas. And I think that's part of that problem, is my guess. But yeah, Electrify America tends to be the one that makes the partnerships with a lot of them. I think Search by VW did it. I know Hyundai did it for a while. I
Hmm.
just haven't heard GM or Ford having partnered yet.
Well, you would think they'd have to.
Yeah.
But what,
Oh
what,
yeah.
what do I know?
So EV6,
Yeah,
free Electrify America. So that makes sense because Hyundai, Kia, because they're nowhere, but he won't use it because they're nowhere near him, and that's
yeah,
the problem with the grid and infrastructure now. That's also why they're trying to standardize the charging capabilities, because if everyone's using the North American charging standard, aka the Tesla plug,
hmm,
and every station has it, then you could roll out a lot more of those programs and it wouldn't, you can just go anywhere.
sure.
Um, so what do you think of the list, Ray? Any surprises there?
Well, yeah, I was really surprised by the Equinox. That
That was me too, actually. Me
geez,
too.
that just shocks me. And if it's a decently equipped automobile, why wouldn't you think about it? So yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely stay away from the Mach E because it's so overpriced in comparison to its competitors. And the charging time is slower than
Than most of them. Yep.
than most of the competitors. So yeah, I was surprised, very surprised. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm one who likes the Mach-E.
yeah,
But when you go through the list, at least when you're going through by price comparison, yeah, there is some pretty serious issues there. And as you see the Mach-E's piling up, Ford's going to have to do. I mean, I know we say they're losing money on every EV, but
yeah.
okay, they're not gaining any money by them sitting on lots either.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely not.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess Ford is, but
Yeah.
the dealers certainly aren't.
No, they are not. Yeah. No,
So
that
I
was
mean, that's not going to help at all, and it doesn't help Ford in the long run to see their inventory just sitting on lots.
exactly. Exactly. No, that was a good list. Thank you for putting that together. No.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. I've been, that was our first top 10 list. There's some surprises in there. Maybe we'll go for a few more top 10s in the future. See what else is out there. This is the price being the big one that I know everyone talks about because whatever else is going on out in the world, we need cheaper vehicles and EVs especially. Igor says, "Yep, you can get 5% off MSRP on a Mach-E pre-incentive." That is what I am seeing as well.
Wow.
5-6%.
As opposed to our member who wanted to offer them invoice plus 5%.
Invoice plus 5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
Um,
They would be throwing a party at that dealership.
yes, they would. Yes, they would. So all the more important to do your research when you're out there looking at vehicles, because invoice plus 5% can be very, very good on some vehicles
Yeah.
and very bad. I mean, we're just looked at the Mach-E, but say you wanted a Ram 1500. Would invoice plus 5% be good on that, Ray?
It would be for the dealer.
Yeah, for the dealer. Invoice minus 5% is still too much on that vehicle.
Yeah.
So good to always do your research there.
That if I may, that is the key for any vehicle purchase.
Yeah.
Is to do your research, know what the market conditions are, know what the incentives are, know if there's any factory incentives so that you can have them applied at the time of purchase. So to walk into any dealership or any car deal without having done research is negligence of the highest order on the customer's behalf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's about time for your lunch, Ray.
It is. I was saying,
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel hunger pangs. So, yeah.
All right. So we'll let you go. We'll be back on Friday.
Yes, I'll be here. Happy to be here. Looking forward and excited about being here.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go ahead and just address what happened over the holiday weekend here in California on Friday.
Don't give out any hints. That's enough of a hint.
That's enough
let
of a
people
hint.
get
All
on
right.
the internet and Google, say what happened in California on Friday, so we can see. Oh, and you just froze. So that is not a good sign when justice freezes like that. Which means I might have to be the one to actually hit the what's that thing called? The end broadcast button, which I will do with a frozen justice. We will see you all back here on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, at say